Hello everyone, welcome back. So this one is just going to be, I think Devlog number 2 is what I'm going to call it, because I think I am actually going to flesh out this Reverse Survivors project into something that actually is kind of a decent game, I would say, is going to be the goal. Now this is just the final beta state of it, of what I had before, which was basically just a couple little UI tweaks and stuff, just make things a little bit more realistic, less realistic, more data heavy. So you understood what was going on. Moved the MP bar, added hero damage up here, just so you kind of fully understood what's going on with everything, as well as just making everything easier to understand, as well as adding a pause menu in case you wanted to pause, doing a little bit of an outline here, displaying the different monsters and stuff. And the little demo I did on itch.io got like a little bit of traction. Quite a few people played it, and I got some decent feedback, some of it publicly, some of it not publicly, just like directly to different things. So I think it was pretty good. So I think I am actually going to take some time and maybe flesh this out into, at minimum, a much better demo. At maximum, a full release is the goal. So I'm going to do something that you, as a first-time developer, really shouldn't be doing, and that is taking your prototype and turning it into kind of a full release. Typically, what you want to do if you ever have a prototype like this is just scrap it entirely, just forget about it, all the code you wrote, just kind of get rid of it, unless you wrote it in such a way that you kind of were like, okay, maybe I could turn this into something really good. Now, I did quite a few things that were not best practice in this development cycle, but I did do some things that I can totally reuse. I would say probably 80% of what I've done I can reuse so far, at least for some of the logic and like the swords bouncing and a whole bunch of other things to kind of keep that in time. I guess in time is the wrong word. Probably just correct, because I won't have to refactor too terribly much for some of this. So I think I'm just going to keep that, but I am just going to basically scrap this entire prototype scene, just start over. I am going to have to, eventually this prototype scene will be completely broken, simply because some of the things that I've done will just break it, because some of it is very specific to this scene, because I was like, oh, it's a prototype, I'm only going to do it once, but we're just going to have to fix that as we go, and basically just delete this prototype screen eventually after we move on. But for now, I figured this would be a good place to get started, and we'll just kind of create a new scene and get things moving, and then I will check back in once all that's done. See you then. Alrighty, so I've been at this for maybe an hour or so, give or take, a little bit of chipping away in the evening. And I've just thrown together a very quick and pretty simple little main menu scene here. Just grabbing some basic stock images and stuff like that, but it's kind of just a rough in of what I think might look half decent on a first pass here before I do some actual implementation of pretty much anything. So settings buttons does, nothing, because I threw this together pretty quick. So the settings button's pretty self-explanatory, and I'll have all your settings, your load, your sound, your music, and stuff like that. Upgrades, these will be your meta upgrades. And I'm kind of thinking something like this. I don't really know how the heck I'm gonna do currency. I think it'll be based on how much damage you do to the hero, but that might just encourage, farming the hero or something like that, so gotta figure that one out from a gameplay mechanic. But basically I'm thinking something like this. Obviously, everything's subject to change, but it's just kind of a very rough placeholder of an idea that I had. I'll probably have a nice icon here, and probably do nicer icons there and everything like that, but for now I think this is pretty decent. So this will be your meta upgrades that you'll be able to spend currency on as you go through. And then to do your normal runs, you would just do new run. And then I'm thinking of having just a hero list over here somehow, that you then select the hero and you would start the run. I still need to do something over here that, like how many heroes, and show which one you have selected and stuff like that. But I do think this is a good little rough-in UI for testing and just kind of working my way through. Obviously, I would want to make this quite a bit nicer once I move on, but I do think for now, for like a good little rough-in, this will be a good starting point, because the logic is here, and that's what I need. I need the logic of going from a main menu, selecting an amount of heroes, being able to spend meta upgrades, pass those upgrades into the actual scene, scene, and do all that work that's behind the scenes of the actual main menu. I care less about how the main menu looks as opposed to the functionality that the main menu provides. Because if I have the functionality in place, I can always switch out the UI. But if I have to like rework the entire functionality of this workflow, it gets a lot more cumbersome and just a lot more hectic, and it becomes really, really hard. So hopefully this little layout will be good. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is start working on trying to get a little bit of like, start the game and figure stuff like that out. Actually pass in some information to actually get a scene going, because now my prototyping scene is probably pretty broken, just from everything that I've changed so far. So hopefully that'll work without a hitch, but I imagine, it'll be instant for you guys, but this will be a cut and my voice will sound completely different and I'll be like, oh my god, this was terrible. But hey man, we'll find out. See you guys then. Alright, that took quite a lot longer than I thought it would actually to kind of redo all this stuff. So just to kind of walk you through all the changes that were made, honestly, doesn't look that different. So you just play your game, everything starts up as per normal here, and you can still look at your upgrade screen, nothing changes there. I haven't done anything with that, settings are still broken. But in your new run screen, you now get this screen, which we saw before, but now there's a little bit of logic here. So you can actually pick a hero from this list. Obviously that's going to change eventually, but for now it works. You pick your hero, pops in, says, hey, you got this. On the back end, it does some data manipulation, basically, which is just the stupid IT word for just saying, hey, I just write a variable somewhere that just basically says this is the hero you're going to spawn. Now, the actual trouble I had was the logic with actually spawning the hero in and keeping everything running, working well, initializing at the right time and whatnot, which is something you really wouldn't run into if you just started over from scratch. But because I decided to take my prototype and kind of do it, it worked. Now, when I say a lot of difficulty, I mean it took me about an hour to kind of sift through everything, make it a little bit more conforming to best practices. But it does work for the most part. And this is just kind of a one-to-one replication of everything that was done before, with a couple of slight tweaks. So there's no buttons on the bottom right now because I'm going to change that system entirely, but I like the displays for now. But underneath the hood, there's actually a lot of stuff going on that wasn't going on before. So all the arrows and stuff are attached to the player. As you can see, the camera is actually just following this hero infinitely. So I did a parallax background, so it's just constantly duplicating the same kind of terrain I have as a large tile map again and again and again. Gives it like a decent little random feel. And the hero can just keep going forever. They no longer have a maximum flee distance or anything like that, so nothing to worry about there. They'll just keep going. Now, I had to put a lifetime on projectiles. I had it before, but it wasn't really used. But I had to mostly just strip off a ton of fleeing logic and stuff that I had before, because apparently I did a lot more work around fleeing in a confined zone than I thought I did. I was like, it'll be so easy to just take that out. Nope. Always plan ahead of time. Don't do what I'm doing. This is a bad example, but it does work for the most part. So the hero will just flee ad nauseum. Projectiles will time out after a matter of time. But right now in the playable state of the game, you don't have a way to actually overcome the hero because they level up way too fast, they kill way too quickly. But basically this is just a huge refactor of so many more things are attached to the hero now, as opposed to before, it was mostly just this one-off random scene. So to kind of just give you an example here, let's look at the basic hero script. So before, all of this logic, these little spawn nodes around the edges here, as well as the arrows, were just attached to the main scene. So like my old prototype scene. You see how everything's doubled now? Because I'm not messing with this scene anymore, I'm just leaving it go. All those same nodes are now attached to the hero. So if I actually go over here in my hero basic script and I toggle him off, you'll notice a whole bunch of arrows will disappear. He also has a camera attached to him now, which wasn't the case before. Before it was fixed view. So we have made actually quite a bit of progress. Like this is what the level actually looks like now, as opposed to before. Now I had to do a little bit of tweaking as well for like a canvas layer to make sure that the UI stays where it's supposed to stay, because now the hero can move infinitely. So it's very important that I keep that layer nice and centered. But that's what this bit is. So if I toggle off the canvas layer, all that stuff disappears. Versus in my prototype scene here, none of it's in a canvas layer. It's all just this gigantic list of stuff over here on the left, which if you compare it to this, much cleaner, much nicer, much smoother. A lot of that stuff is now contained inside of the hero script. So still a lot more to do, but overall I'm pretty happy with the progress thus far. I think what I'm going to have to work on next is something to, a different way to spawn in monsters and stuff to make it less cumbersome, less confusing, and just a lot more smooth. A way to kind of keep everything hidden, but easily accessible. So I have to work out that thought, but hopefully I'll be able to figure it out. See you guys later.